it's recording. All right. Jake, quiet down. Hi. This is a video. I was asked to create a birthday video of me reading a golden book, which is a thing that I'm willing to do for really special people. Happy birthday to, what's it say? Julia. Happy birthday, Julia. How does that make you? Hope you have a really nice time tonight. Or on the 17th. Or all the nights between now and the 17th. I hope you have like the best time ever. And please don't do anything I wouldn't do. Okay. So I'm reading Peter Rabbit to you for your birthday from your friend Snorkelberry Lauren Sterlin of Boston, Massachusetts. Peter Rabbit, Henny Penny, the City Mouse, and shit, there's a lot of books in here. Okay, so you're just getting Peter Rabbit, not and other stories, just Peter Rabbit, because we have a limited amount of time here. Peter Rabbit, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter, and Mrs. Rabbit, Peter Rabbit. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. And there they are. I don't know who this little guy is. He's a duck. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the roots of a very big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said Mrs. Rabbit one morning, "you may go into the field or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor." Well, see, they dealt with the central question that I was curious about. This is a married rabbit, Mrs. Rabbit, but nowhere in here is it included any mention of Mr. Rabbit. But they settled that. He was killed and put into a pie. "Now run along and don't get into mischief. I'm going out." Then Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First he ate some lettuce and then some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. Then, feeling rather sick, he went about to try to see if he could find some parsley. But round the end of Cucumber Frame, who should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Ooh, he looks formidable. Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way out to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages and the other shoe among the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster, so that he might have gotten away altogether if it had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net, but got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. It was a new jacket with brass buttons. Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears, but his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows, as sparrows are wont to do, overhearing, who flew him to in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop over the top of Peter, but Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him, and rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been beautiful to hide in if it not had been so much water in it. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hiding underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently, Peter sneezed. "Curdy shoo! Curdy shoo!" Mr. McGregor was after him in no time. He tried to put his foot down upon Peter, who jumped out of the window, upsetting 3 plants. A little action scene for you. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired from running after Peter. He went back to his work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright. and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp and sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast and looking all around. He found a door in the wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little bunny to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her which way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently, he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A large cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went back towards the tool shed, but how long is this book? Oh, okay, we're all right. Suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Scrick, scratch, scritch. Peter shuddered underneath the bushes, but presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed over a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go, along a straight walk behind some blackcurrant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the woods outside the garden. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Oh, okay. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. Like that. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. That's 2 weeks. A fortnight. I only just learned that. I'm 42. I'm sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea. This is full of herb lore, this book. This is like, should go into the libraries of magicians. His mother put him to bed, made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and buttermilk, or blackberries for supper. I don't even know that they should have been included. That's the end of the book. Julia. Julia, right? Blah, 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 blah. Her name is Julia. Yep. That's all that there is in this book. There's nothing more for you. But soon you will be getting this book journal, in the mail, and you can read the rest of the stories. There's some other really great stuff in there. So, that's it. Thank you. Enjoy yourself. Happy birthday. See you later.